Chapter 21. Xiao Yan smiled as he looked at the young practitioner who was slowly opening his eyes. According to Xiao Yan's perception, this young practitioner's cultivation was not bad. At least in the Douqi continent, he could be considered an outstanding talent. He had already reached the strength of a 7-star Do Huang. The huge wolf that he was fighting with was a rank 7 magic beast, the Howling Moon Wolf. This kind of magic beast was extremely ruthless in battle. As long as there was an opportunity to kill its opponent, it would not hesitate to charge forward and kill its opponent. Even if its opponent was about to hit its vital point, it would not have the slightest intention of dodging. Therefore, when faced with its life-for-life fighting style, many people would retreat in order to advance. They would only defend and not attack, waiting for it to reveal a flaw before giving it a fatal blow. Unfortunately, there were usually very few people who could last until then because under the violent bombardment of the Howling Moon Wolf, they simply could not withstand it. Unless one's strength far surpassed the Howling Moon Wolf, no one would be stupid enough to contend with it with weak strength. However, the person in front of Xiao Yan was a little strange. Although Xiao Yan had seen a few corpses earlier, from the appearance, their status and strength seemed to be lower than this person's. He should have been brought out from his own faction. The moment the young practitioner opened his eyes and saw Xiao Yan, he instinctively leaped up from the green rock he was lying on and landed on the ground a couple of feet away from Xiao Yan, carrying a grey fog with him. After which, he appeared to have recalled something and quickly walked forward. He cupped his hands together and bowed to Xiao Yan as he said, "Brother Xiao Yan, I have been waiting for you. I am Lu Xiang. Thank you for saving my life. I did not recognize my benefactor just now. I hope that benefactor will forgive me." Lu Xiang did not have a trace of hesitation when he spoke. It could be seen that he was also a straightforward person. Therefore, Xiao Yan did not blame him. After explaining his intentions, the two of them walked out of the mountain forest together. In order to avoid unnecessary trouble and to first understand this world, Xiao Yan did not fly out with Lu Xiang. Along the way, Xiao Yan also had a good impression of Lu Xiang. From his conversation with Lu Xiang along the way, Xiao Yan understood that they were now in the southwest region of the continent, adjacent to the desolate ancient forest in the south. There were many extremely powerful magical beasts, some of which were even strong enough to reach the peak of the continent. Their strength was not inferior to some of the peak existences of the human race. However, they seemed to have some agreement with the human race that they could not casually attack, otherwise they would be hunted down by experts from both sides until they died. Lu Xiang lived in a city called Qingyang City. It was a small city in the southwest region, and Lu Xiang was a member of one of the two great clans in Qingyang City. The two clans had been fighting openly and secretly for hundreds of years. The other clan was surnamed Wu, and the two had always been evenly matched. Until 10 years ago, when the head of the Wu clan made a breakthrough and injured the head of the Lu clan in a battle with the head of the Lu clan, leaving the head of the Lu clan with sequelae. Although the head of the Lu clan was injured and left with sequelae, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. With the foundation of the Lu clan, although the sequelae had not been completely removed, as long as the other medicinal ingredients were found, the sequelae would immediately be removed. Unfortunately, in the past 10 years, the Wu clan had been unforgiving, constantly suppressing the Lu clan. Most of the textile markets in Qingyang City had been occupied by the Wu clan. Although the head of the Wu clan's sequelae had almost completely recovered, the situation had become very critical. The remaining medicinal ingredients had not been found, but now that the Wu clan was about to attack the city, Lu Xiang had no choice but to bring his clan members out to search for medicinal ingredients. After 2 months of searching, Lu Xiang finally found the exact location of all the medicinal ingredients with great difficulty. After several battles, there were not many people left, but the last medicinal ingredient, Soulguard grass, had not been found. This made Lu Xiang and the others very anxious. Seeing that the clan war was about to happen, but the head of the Wu clan had not recovered from the sequelae, they had no choice but to make a final gamble. When the 7th level magical beast, Howling Moon Wolf, went out to hunt for food, they quietly made a move. However, for some reason, they were discovered by the Howling Moon Wolf. After a series of battles, they were already exhausted, but now that they were discovered by the magical beast, they had no choice but to fight it. In the end, they were all wiped out. If Xiao Yan had not come in time, even Lu Xiang would have been eaten by the Howling Moon Wolf at this moment. Time passed unknowingly. The two of them chatted as they walked. In the blink of an eye, they had already approached the city. Xiao Yan glanced over and saw a black line on the distant ground. The ground under his feet had unknowingly changed from a green grassland to a solid hard road. It was obvious that this was the result of frequent traffic. Xiao Yan inhaled a deep breath and sensed the familiar human aura between the heavens and the earth. The corner of his mouth was lifted into an arc as he softly sighed. It's still better to be with humans. It's really too boring to be alone. Brother Lu, I still have something to do. See you later. See you later. As his voice fell, he ignored Lu Xiang's shocked expression and his body flashed and disappeared in front of Lu Xiang. Only the lingering sound of Xiao Yan's voice still reverberated in the sky, telling Lu Xiang that a person had just been here. He already knew the name of that person. It was a young man called Xiao Yan, who looked to be about the same age as him. Lu Xiang stood in the same spot for a long time and only recovered after a while. He took a step forward and almost fell. Only then did Lu Xiang realize that his legs were numb. He circulated the dou qi in his body and removed the numbness in his legs. Only then did he continue to rush toward Qingyang City. However, his speed this time was aided by his dou qi. Streams of pale green flowing light were left in the places that Lu Xiang passed by, and his body had already disappeared hundreds of feet away. As he was walking, he muttered to himself, so fast. This kind of speed, I'm afraid that only the head of the family can keep up with him at full strength. Doesn't that mean that his strength is at least at the same level as the head of the family? It's really too terrifying. With this kind of talent, he's probably a disciple from a large sect who came out to train. If my Lu family is on good terms with him, then even the Wu family will have to be courteous to us. I must quickly let the head of the family know about this matter. As his voice fell, his speed increased once again. His body flashed and he quickly flew toward the Lu family in Qingyang City. Lu Xiang was still rushing toward Qingyang City from outside the city, but Xiao Yan had already begun to stroll around the city. Xiao Yan looked at the bustling streets and smiled. After a few turns in the streets and the flow of people, he finally found a merchant association that specialized in selling information. Xiao Yan entered the shop and saw that the counters were filled with information about ordinary factions. He casually flipped through them and revealed a smile. With a book in his hand, he threw a handful of gold coins and walked out. After leaving the merchant association, he carefully looked at the dust-covered book in his hand. This book was called Continent Explanation and it explained many things to know about the continent. However, Xiao Yan did not pay too much attention to it. Instead, he directly looked at the most important part. This continent was called the Yuanwu continent. In ancient times, there were many capable people. Experts were born in large numbers and geniuses were gathered. The Yuanwu continent was mainly divided into two major parts, the central region and the outer region. The outer region was further divided into four parts, the east, west, south and north. The four parts were further divided into the 9 prefectures. The 9 prefectures were further divided into 36 counties and 72 prefectures. The book did not explain the central region in detail. Xiao Yan was not surprised and continued to read. Xiao Yan was naturally most concerned about strength. After all, strength was the only pass to the entire continent. Therefore, Xiao Yan read very carefully. The division of strength in the Yuanwu continent was mostly the same as the division of strength in the Dou Qi continent. However, when it came to Dou Di, Xiao Yan frowned slightly. The division of strength in the Yuanwu continent was no longer the same after reaching Doushang. After Doushang, it was divided into half Emperor, Dou Di, Origin Transformation Realm, Origin Returning Realm, Origin King, Origin Emperor, Origin Zong, Origin Venerable, Origin Saint, Origin Emperor. These realms were the divisions of strength in the Yuanwu continent. Most of them were the same from Doujia to Doushang, but the only difference was between the Origin Transformation and Returnance realms. The book explained that the Origin Transformation and Returnance realms did not differ by 9 stars like the other realms. The Origin Transformation and Returnance realms were divided into early, mid, and late stages. The late stages were further divided into the late stages and the peak of the late stages. Before one reached the Origin Transformation realm, one could use the Emperor's origin energy in the world to cultivate. Of course, the prerequisite was that one had to adapt to the Genesis Qi in the world. Xiao Yan's situation when he broke through earlier was because his body was incompatible with the Genesis Qi of the world. If it were not for the jade bottle, Xiao Yan would not know what to do. The reason why the people of the Yuanwu continent could adapt to the Genesis Qi of the world was mainly because they were born on the continent, so they naturally adapted early. Once they matured, there was no need for them to adjust to the Genesis Qi. For example, Xiao Yan would not be able to adapt to the Genesis Qi of the world for a period of time. The two realms relied on a cultivator's familiarity with the Genesis Qi of the world, allowing them to draw the Genesis Qi into their body and use it for themselves. The Origin Transformation realm was the cultivation of both Dou Qi and Genesis Qi. Once a cultivator reached the Returnance realm, they would mainly cultivate Genesis Qi. It was impossible for a human's body to grow forever, because if a human's body could constantly grow, there would be no such thing as aging, sickness, and death. Although Do Qi could strengthen the body, once one's strength reached a certain level, they would explode from the tremendous amount of Do Qi no matter how great their cultivation was. The purpose of cultivating Genesis Qi was to absorb and refine the Genesis Qi and use it to strengthen the body. This was because people had discovered that Genesis Qi was much gentler and denser than Do Qi. No matter how many cultivators there were, nothing would happen to them. However, there was a flaw that Genesis Qi could not be compared to Do Qi, which was that Genesis Qi was far less destructive than Do Qi. Fortunately, everyone needed to use Genesis Qi after reaching the Returnance Realm, so cultivators did not have to worry about it. As for Do Emperors, although they still cultivated Do Qi, even 10 peak Do Emperors would not be able to match a single Returnance expert. From this, it could be seen that the difference in cultivation was not something that could be offset by the strength of one's cultivation. The main purpose of cultivating at the Returnance Realm was to harmonize the body with the Genesis Qi of the world, reaching a state of perfect fusion. This step was easier said than done. It required one to refine and absorb the Genesis Qi of the world and condense it into a white Genesis Qi bead in the body. The purer the Genesis Qi bead, the better it would be. In particular, milky white Genesis Qi beads were extremely pure. As long as one could condense a milky white Genesis Qi bead, it meant that one's future was limitless, and there would definitely be many super sects that would try to rope them in. If only one of them knew about it, they would do everything in their power to stop all news and recruit the person. Once the Genesis Qi bead was successfully condensed, reaching the Origin Ancestor realm would be set in stone. This was why so many people remained at the Returnance realm for so long just for the sake of glory. They hoped to gain a place in the super sections. Once they succeeded, they and their clans would achieve unparalleled glory. The Returnance realm was what they relied on the most. Chapter 22. The Returnance realm was the dividing line between peak experts and true peak experts. It was a realm that everyone stayed at for the sake of rising to the peak in a single day. Next, Xiao Yan looked at some explanations of cultivation methods and battle skills. As Xiao Yan expected, even the cultivation methods and battle skills on the Origin Martial continent were much more powerful than those on the Do Qi continent. The cultivation methods and battle skills on the Origin Martial continent were based on the Heaven, Earth, Profound, and Yellow rank. There were also Human rank, Spirit rank, Will rank, Saint rank, and Saint rank taboos. Each rank was further divided into 3 levels: elementary, intermediate, and advanced. Although they were divided into 5 categories, there were only 4 main categories. Saint rank taboos were not something that could be casually cultivated. The word Saint rank taboos were obviously not spoken casually. Just the word taboos were enough to cause people to worry. A Saint tier taboo cultivation method could allow a cultivator's cultivation speed to be faster than a Saint tier cultivation method. As long as a Saint tier cultivation method was cultivated to the peak, the cultivator would be able to use the Heaven and Earth as their own when cultivating. Using the power of the Heaven and Earth, the cultivator would be able to achieve twice the result with half the effort. Saint rank taboo cultivation methods were even stronger. Not only did they possess all the characteristics of Saint rank cultivation methods, they were even more powerful than Saint rank cultivation methods. After a Saint rank taboo cultivation method was cultivated to the great success stage, the cultivation method would automatically circulate in the cultivator's body. It would help the cultivator cultivate at any time. Moreover, it could also borrow the energy of the world to aid the cultivator's recovery. The effects were exceptionally powerful. Such a heaven-defying ability naturally moved many cultivators, but they ultimately only thought about it in their hearts. This was because the Saint rank taboo cultivation methods had a fatal flaw. It was that it would continuously absorb the life essence of the cultivator's body. In the end, the cultivator would wither and die because of this. Otherwise, there would not be so many young and powerful cultivators on the Origin Martial continent who died at such an early age. These people blindly pursued the enjoyment of strength. In the end, they would rise because of this cultivation method, but they would wither and die because of this cultivation method. Even if these people died, they would be spurned by the world because anyone who cultivated this cultivation method would be called a demonic cultivator. Because some Saint rank taboo cultivation methods were too cruel and overbearing, they were ostracized by the world. Therefore, those who cultivated the taboo cultivation methods were called demonic cultivators. However, this was only the view of the people in the outer regions. In the central region, as long as one had strength, who would care about the cultivation method you cultivated? Strength was the true focus of the continent. Below Saint tier cultivation methods was Will tier. Like its name, Will tier cultivation methods used one's spiritual sense to fuse with Genesis Qi to cultivate. During cultivation, one's spiritual sense would be released and fuse with the Genesis Qi of Heaven and Earth. It would drive the energy of Heaven and Earth and form an energy storm. Refining Genesis Chi was akin to refining the entire world, causing one to feel incomparably shocked. Spirit tier cultivation methods used the earth spirit vein to cultivate, absorbing the chi of earth and using the chi of earth to draw in the energy of heaven and earth. Using both methods at the same time, one's might would soar to the heavens. After cultivation, one's aura would become condensed and vigorous. If an earth attribute cultivation method was used, not only would it be twice the result with half the effort, there was also a certain chance of drawing in the power of earth and comprehending the mysteries of heaven and earth. Human tier cultivation methods used the entire person as the cultivation method, and the cultivation method was the entire person as the cultivation method, drawing in the energy of heaven and earth for one's own use. Moreover, this kind of cultivation method did not require much comprehension and would directly fuse with the person, allowing one's cultivation speed to be extremely fast. Xiao Yan was very excited when he saw the benefits of cultivation. Unfortunately, he did not know how long it would take for his burning flame mantra to reach that stage. TSK, these cultivation methods are not ordinary. Just some of the supplementary abilities are several times more powerful than some heaven tier cultivation methods. TSK. Xiao Yan could not help but sigh in his heart when he thought of the mysterious abilities of these cultivation methods. After the cultivation methods were Do skills. Ever since Xiao Yan had seen the mysterious underworld soul-devouring palm that the old flame demon ghost had adapted to, Xiao Yan had developed a strong interest in the cultivation methods and Do skills of the origin martial continent. In addition, Gu Yu had told Xiao Yan that his angry Buddha reincarnation was a human tier Do skill, which made Xiao Yan even more interested. Therefore, he read very seriously. The explanation of Do skills in the book was roughly the same as the cultivation methods. Human tier Do skills. After the Do skill was used, a human figure would appear. Of course, the more proficient the Do skill was, the more solid the figure would be and the more powerful it would be. The figure formed would be the creator of the Do skill because the creator was the one who understood the Do skill the most. Thus, the creator would naturally be able to control the Do skill like a fish in water. Spirit tier Do skills. After being used, the chi of heaven and earth would be used to strengthen the Do skill. The longer the Do skill was used, the more chi of heaven and earth would be absorbed and the more powerful it would be. Intent tier Do skills. Intent tier Do skills were a combination of Genesis Chi and Spirit tier Do skills. The two complemented each other. Genesis Chi mainly attacked the physical body while Spirit tier Do skills bombarded the soul, directly reaching the source of the Do skill. The damage it dealt was enormous and its power had the ability to destroy one's body and soul. It could be said to be terrifying. For example, the Xianming soul-devouring palm that the old flame demon ghost had displayed earlier was an E-class Do technique. Even Yuan Qing had been shaken until he became absent-minded at that time. This resulted in Xiao Yan not knowing what class of Do technique it was. However, from the looks of Yuan Qing's situation back then, an E-class Do technique was not something that even they could easily obtain. Xiao Yan's eyes sparkled at this point. This was a treasure that was hard to come by. If he could snatch it from the old flame demon ghost's hands, TSK, it would be enough to be used as a trump card. Once a Saint Do skill was used, the world would tremble, mountains and rivers would crumble, and all living things would be afraid. When it was used, the world would become one with it. No one would be able to escape from a Saint Do skill. Its power could burn the sky and boil the sea, destroying all living things. It was said to be able to extinguish the world when a Saint Do skill was used. This made Xiao Yan smack his lips. It was just a Do skill, yet it was able to make the world feel fear. He really did not know how powerful a Saint Do skill would be. The last one was a Saint Do skill. This page was independent and was unlike the other few pages which were joined together. The opening of the page was a bright red word that was emphasized in an extremely serious manner, causing Xiao Yan's expression to instantly become solemn. A Saint Do skill was even more powerful than a Saint Do skill. It truly had the power to destroy the world. If it was used by a super powerhouse, even a powerhouse of the same level would be instantly killed. There was no chance of survival. Even if the user encountered a super powerhouse who was one level higher than the user would still be able to kill them. The worst case scenario was that the user would be seriously injured and on the verge of death. There was not the slightest bit of hesitation in these words. They were completely resolute and decisive, causing Xiao Yan to suck in a breath of cold air. His pupils abruptly shrank, and he only recovered after a long while. If it was a super powerhouse, then the weakest one would be at least a Sorsong. He really did not expect that a Do skill could have such great power. If a Sorsong could use this Do skill to destroy the world, then what would happen if it was used by a Source Venerate powerhouse? Or even an even more powerful Source Sage powerhouse? How powerful would that be? Xiao Yan did not dare to imagine. He could only look for an inn after he finished reading. A moment later, Xiao Yan stood in front of an inn called Thousand Blessings Building. He smiled slightly and walked in. As soon as he entered, he glanced at the crowded first floor and smiled again before walking up to the second floor. Once he reached the second floor, Xiao Yan saw a guest table near the window and walked over. As soon as Xiao Yan sat down, a waiter ran over with a smile and asked Xiao Yan, "Sir, may I know what you would like to order?" Xiao Yan ordered a few dishes and sat down to wait. However, not long after Xiao Yan sat down, two people came up the stairs to the second floor. It was a young man and woman. The man had a handsome face and his black hair was casually draped over his shoulders. He really looked like a handsome man, but the trace of cunning between his brows destroyed the heroic aura he exuded. He was dressed in green clothes with golden threads entwined around his sleeves, faintly forming a giant golden python. In addition, the green-clothed man was unintentionally swaying the python, making it seem as if the giant golden python was alive. It emitted a demonic golden glow that made it seem incomparably mystical. The green-clothed man was holding a jade fan in his hand. The jade fan was completely green and was wrapped in gold. Strands of golden threads weaved through it, causing the entire fan to emit a green-gold glow that was incomparably beautiful. The woman was dressed in snow-white clothes. Her cheeks were pretty, and her purple hair reached her waist. She was adorned with gold and silver from head to toe. She looked extremely delicate and spoiled. At first glance, one would have the urge to protect her from the bottom of their hearts. However, the spoiled look that was revealed on her face made the originally pleasing feeling instantly become somewhat dull. However, this did not affect the opinions of the people in the inn. The two of them went up to the second floor. Almost everyone except Xiao Yan looked at the two of them with starry eyes. Their eyes were full of envy and worship. The two of them did not care at all. Their faces were full of arrogance and their noses were in the air. Their eyes did not look forward as they walked straight to the guest table where Xiao Yan was. When the two of them walked to the guest table, the slightly closed eyes of the shady man suddenly opened. He frowned slightly and angrily stared at Xiao Yan, who was eating in front of him with an indifferent face. The young and beautiful woman also showed a hint of displeasure on her face. The jade green fan in the man's hand was violently closed. His hands crossed his chest as he furiously stared at Xiao Yan and said, "Humph. Where did this wild brat come from? Don't you know that this table is specially used by Rong Mei and this young master? Quickly get lost. Otherwise, don't blame this young master for not showing any mercy." As he spoke, he waved the jade green fan in his hand and opened it once again. It emitted waves of creaking sounds that caused people to feel unusually irritated. However, when this sound was emitted, the expressions of everyone in the inn changed. They saw that a black-robed, wrinkled old man had appeared behind the young man at some unknown time. Xiao Yan was indifferent to the words of the young man. He continued to eat the side dishes on his plate. This did not mean that Xiao Yan had shown him kindness. It was entirely because Xiao Yan had learned quite a number of new things today and was quite happy in his heart. Therefore, he did not wish to fight with this man. In Xiao Yan's eyes, this man was merely an ant-like existence. Even the black-clothed old man behind him was merely a two-star dozong. What was there to be concerned about? However, the man did not think this way in his heart. When he saw Xiao Yan acting in this manner, he felt extremely displeased in his heart. The expression on his face was also extremely ugly and gloomy. He waved the jade green fan in his hand and the black-clothed old man's body suddenly moved. He charged explosively toward Xiao Yan while involuntarily saying with a cold smile, "You cannot blame the old me for your death today. Who asked you to provoke my young master of all people? Since you have already angered my young master, I will use your fresh blood to eliminate my young master's anger." The green-clothed man coldly laughed when he saw this. He faced the black-clothed old man who was charging toward Xiao Yan and said, "Remember, old M.O., don't disturb the table. Elder M.O., remember not to dirty the table. Otherwise, this young master and little sister won't be able to eat properly." The black-clothed old man nodded slightly. His fist smashed toward Xiao Yan's head. Bang! A muffled sound of a fist colliding with a palm sounded. The skinny fist of the black-clothed old man was blocked by a white palm. That fist stopped at the side of Xiao Yan's head and was unable to advance even an inch. The expression of the black-clothed old man changed. Xiao Yan pushed with his palm. That seemingly gentle push caused the black-clothed old man to collide into a pillar of the inn. Although he did not vomit blood, the expression of the black-clothed old man became even more solemn. The gaze he used to look at Xiao Yan was as though he was looking at a demon. It was abnormally horrifying. Chapter 23. Within the inn, the black-clothed, old man's face was filled with shock as he looked at Xiao Yan, who was still eating. Beads of cold sweat were repeatedly emitted from his forehead. His heart repeatedly thought about the strength of that attack from Xiao Yan earlier in order to guess Xiao Yan's strength. After a couple of breaths, the black-clothed, old man had also roughly guessed Xiao Yan's strength. Hence, he thought in his heart. Looking at the strength of that attack from this person earlier, this person's strength should be between a 7-star and an 8-star dozong. This person's strength is so great and his talent is extraordinary. There is definitely an extremely powerful faction supporting him from behind. Looks like this person is definitely not someone who can be defeated by force. I must try my best to be on good terms with him. Otherwise, if I end up offending a faction that my Wu clan cannot touch, my Wu clan will be finished. This time around, young master has really gotten into big trouble. Once we return, I will definitely ask the clan head to properly discipline him. Suddenly, the black-clothed, old man's body suddenly charged forward. He charged between the green-clothed man and the girl. Before the two of them could react, his hands tightly grabbed their wrists. His body moved and charged out of the inn. Xiao Yan did not move. It was as though he was allowing them to leave. However, just as the three of them were about to enter the staircase, a soft laugh suddenly sounded from the second floor of the inn. One could see that Xiao Yan, who was originally eating the side dishes, had already stood up. His hands were placed behind him as he looked at the three of them with a smile. After which, he softly opened his mouth and said, "The three of you have just arrived. Why are you in such a hurry to leave? Since I have finished the side dishes on my plate, why don't I treat the three of you to some main dishes?" Xiao Yan's tone was extremely soft when he spoke. It was as though he was really inviting the black-clothed, old man and the two others. However, the black-clothed, old man was suddenly startled when he heard these words. If the side dishes were finished, wouldn't the main dishes be theirs? The black-clothed, old man's feet suddenly quickened. He wanted to leave the inn before Xiao Yan acted. The black-clothed, old man's body had just moved when he instantly stopped. Both of his eyes were shocked as he turned his head to look at Xiao Yan. Just as he was about to descend, the black-clothed, old man was shocked to discover that he was actually unable to move. Xiao Yan, on the other hand, was walking toward the three of them one step at a time. In comparison, the black-clothed, old man was clearly in a much better state than the two people beside him. The green-clothed man and the girl beside him had been frightened by Xiao Yan's spiritual pressure until they had lost their consciousness. Xiao Yan, on the other hand, had merely fixed the black-clothed, old man on the spot. The black-clothed, old man seemed to be aware of what Xiao Yan was planning to do. Hence, the spiritual strength within his mind wildly surged out and struck the brows of the two people beside him. The man and woman were finally awakened under the desperate situation of the black-costume old man. The moment they were awakened, the black-costume old man swung his arm and threw the two of them out of the window. At the same time, he sent a sound transmission to the green-clothed man. First young master, quickly return to the clan and inform the clan leader of this matter. You must tell the clan leader that the faction behind this person is very strong. We can only do our best to befriend him and must not become enemies with him. Otherwise, the clan will definitely attract a great calamity. Remember. The last words of the black-clothed old man contained a tragic feeling, causing Xiao Yan to feel speechless for a long while. He had offended someone, yet he still felt that he was a hero. At this moment, all of the people on the second floor immediately woke up. At this moment, everyone on the second floor of the inn instantly came to a realization. How was this man seeking his own death? He was clearly an absolute genius. His strength had already reached the dozong class at such a young age. In that case, he would definitely be an absolute expert that would shock the world. He might even become a legend one day. Yet, the Wu clan had not only gone out to curry favor with such a person but also wanted to kill him. This Wu clan was really extremely stupid. Some people repeatedly sighed in their hearts when they thought that such a rare opportunity had been abandoned by them. However, some people also had cold smiles on their faces. This Wu clan had been arrogant and despotic for the past 10 years. Now, there was finally someone who could come and teach them a lesson. The eyes of the green-clothed man suddenly shrunk when he heard this. His body forcefully turned in the air and hugged the girl, whose face was pale with fright. His body landed steadily on the ground, and then he quickly flew back to the clan. Xiao Yan did not even look at the man and woman who had fled. His face was calm as he looked at the black-clothed old man opposite him. When the black-clothed old man saw that Xiao Yan was looking at him, he hurriedly gave Xiao Yan a courteous smile that was uglier than crying. He smiled and said to Xiao Yan, "It is indeed my fault for attacking you just now. Actually, it is only a Misunderstanding, a misunderstanding. My young master is used to sitting in your position. Therefore, However, I have already asked him to return to the clan to call the clan leader. The clan leader will personally come and apologize to you. I hope that you will not be angry, all right? Xiao Yan coldly laughed when he heard this and said. You are from the Wu clan, right? Previously, there was a person from the Lu clan who helped me. I heard him say that the Wu clan of Qingyang City is incomparably arrogant, despotic, and ruthless. I did not expect that today, it is indeed so. Haha. Xiao Yan coldly looked at the black-clothed old man, causing him to feel as if there was a thorn in his back. He was extremely uncomfortable. However, in the next moment, the black-clothed old man had an idea. He smiled and said to Xiao Yan. Haha, so it's you. This is really a case of family not recognizing family. The one who helped you is Lu Xiang, right? Haha, to tell you the truth, that kid is my grandson. If I had known about this earlier, there wouldn't have been so many misunderstandings. Lu Xiang laughed. Xiao Yan slightly raised his eyebrows when he heard this. The faces of everyone in the inn twitched slightly. This old man's skin was too thick. If he was discovered to be impersonating someone from the Lu clan, wouldn't it be over for him? The black-clothed old man naturally knew this in his heart. However, now that he had spoken, how could he take back his words? Moreover, if he did not speak at this moment, what if that fellow Lu Xiang asked him to deal with the Wu clan after helping this person? No matter how strong the Wu clan was, they would definitely not be a match for the other party. Right now, he could only stall for time. If he really could not, he could just wait for the clan leader to arrive and kill him in one fell swoop. As long as he dealt with everyone who knew about this, even if his Wu clan really killed the younger generation of some large faction, so what? When he thought of this, the smile on the black-clothed old man's face became even more resplendent. However, in Xiao Yan's eyes, it was incomparably horrifying. How could Xiao Yan not know what the black-clothed old man was thinking? However, Xiao Yan turned his head to look outside the window of the inn. A trace of surprise appeared on his face. Xiao Yan looked at the black-clothed old man. He did not attack. All he did was smile. The black-clothed old man appeared to have understood something. He did not say anything about being a member of the Lu clan. Instead, he accompanied Xiao Yan as they stood in the same spot and quietly waited. A while later, a mighty and domineering middle-aged man shot in from outside the window. He appeared beside the black-clothed old man in a flash. When the black-clothed old man explained the relationship between Xiao Yan and the Lu clan, the face of the Wu clan's patriarch changed. He sent a message to the black-clothed old man and then walked towards Xiao Yan with a chuckle. However, when he arrived in front of Xiao Yan, the two of them suddenly attacked Xiao Yan. They wanted to kill Xiao Yan in a single strike. Xiao Yan's expression did not change when he saw this. This caused the black-clothed old man and the black-clothed old man to feel a little uneasy in their hearts. The strength in their hands became even more ferocious as they wildly attacked Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan, on the other hand, quietly stood in the same spot. Both of his hands were placed behind his back and he did not move. However, just as the attacks of the two were about to land on Xiao Yan's body, a bang was heard. The charging bodies of the Wu clan's patriarch and the black-clothed old man suddenly paused. A somewhat tired figure appeared in front of the two and blocked their attacks. An instant later, this figure staggered 3 steps back while the Wu clan's patriarch and the black-clothed old man only took a small step back. The two of them focused their eyes and coldly laughed. The gazes they used to look at Xiao Yan became even darker and colder. However, Xiao Yan ignored the two of them. Instead, he looked at the middle-aged man in front of him. The man also seemed to have sensed something and turned around. A warm smile appeared on his pale face. Xiao Yan's eyes swept around for a moment before he smiled and nodded in response. The fury in the Wu clan head's heart grew when he saw that the two of them actually did not place the two of them in their eyes. He let out an explosive cry and the dou qi in his body circulated rapidly. A glow flashed in his hand and a long sword appeared in it. He pierced the long sword toward the man who had his back facing him. However, the man did not dodge. Instead, he turned around and met the attack with a punch. Sword of heaven and earth. Mountain shaking fist. The two of them let out an explosive roar at the same time. The sword and fist collided and both of them took a step back. The Wu clan head's body shook and the frightening force on his body was completely removed. On the other hand, the blood in the middle-aged man's body churned and a flush appeared on his pale face. Ha 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 ha. Lu Wabai, you are still not good enough. With your current strength, I advise you to quickly leave. Don't think about forcefully protecting this child. If you leave, the old me guarantees that I will not touch your Lu clan for the next 5 years. Otherwise, the old me can let you off today. However, you cannot blame the old me tomorrow. Therefore, do you think that the clan is more important, or an outsider who has no relationship with you is more important? The Wu clan head coldly laughed as he spoke. His eyes were filled with ridicule as he looked at the Lu clan head. The Lu clan head's eyebrows were tightly knit together when he heard this. His somewhat flushed face revealed a conflicted expression. Logically speaking, there was indeed no relationship between him and Xiao Yan. In fact, the two of them had only just met. However, he was indebted to Xiao Yan. Even though it was indirect, Xiao Yan had still helped him greatly. However, what about his clan? What about his clan? After thinking about it, the Lu clan head finally decided to protect Xiao Yan. After all, as long as he could protect Xiao Yan, it would mean that the Lu clan was already on good terms with him. With Xiao Yan's talent, he would definitely be valued by some large forces. As long as the clan could hold on until then, not to mention the Wu clan in this small Qingyang city, even a clan 10 times stronger than the Wu clan would have to give some face to the Lu clan. The originally hesitant expression of the head of the Lu clan immediately became firm when he thought of this. He stood in front of Xiao Yan and blocked the head of the Wu clan, who was about to attack Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan's eyes, which were as calm as an old well, revealed an expression of admiration when he saw this. He nodded in a manner that was undetectable and continued to watch. The head of the Wu clan looked at the head of the Lu clan, who had a resolute expression on his face. Both of their faces instantly darkened. Their hands slowly clenched into fists, and they looked like they were about to attack. This caused the head of the Lu clan's face to instantly turn grave. However, in the next moment, the Wu clan head suddenly laughed loudly. Good. 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 Good for you, Lu Wabai. Good for you, Lu clan. Just wait for my Wu clan's anger. I originally wanted to give you some time to breathe, but since your Lu clan doesn't want it, then don't blame this old man. Wash your necks tonight and wait for my Wu clan's bombardment tomorrow. The Wu clan head roared furiously. As soon as he finished speaking, the Wu clan head and Lu Wabai left the inn and headed back to their clans to prepare for the battle tomorrow. Lu Wabai waited until the Wu clan head and Lu Wabai disappeared from sight before turning to look at Xiao Yan. Seeing Xiao Yan's indifferent expression, Lu Wabai's eyes narrowed slightly before he opened his mouth to ask Xiao Yan. What plans do you have? If you don't have any, I would like to invite you to my humble abode as a guest for a night to prevent that old ghost from the Wu clan from attacking you in the middle of the night. I wonder if you can agree to my proposal? Xiao Yan looked at Lu Wabai and revealed a smile. He nodded and said, Then I'll have to bother you. Lu Wabai hurriedly waved his hand in denial and left the inn with Xiao Yan with a smile on his face. As soon as he left the inn, Xiao Yan saw Lu Xiang, who had previously led the way for him. Seeing Lu Xiang's respectful expression, Xiao Yan slightly frowned. After talking for a long time, Lu Xiang once again returned to his appearance of leading the way for Xiao Yan. He chatted and laughed with Xiao Yan, leaving the Lu clan head to the side in the cold. This caused the Lu clan head to feel rather helpless. He could only follow the two and watch as Xiao Yan and Lu Xiang walked towards the Lu clan's residence together. Chapter 24. Qingyang City, Lu Family Mansion. There were over 10 people in a large hall. A pale-faced, somewhat weak human figure was seated on a wooden chair in the middle of the large hall. Lu Wabai looked at Xiao Yan, who was seated below, and opened his mouth to ask with a smile, Xiao Yan, what are you waiting for? May I know where fellow Xiao Yan lives? Hearing this, Xiao Yan naturally knew that the other party wanted to understand the value of his bet. Otherwise, how would he explain it to his family? After all, he, Lu Wabai, had used his own family as a bet to protect Xiao Yan. However, if he failed in the end, the price was not something he could bear. Even if he lost his entire family, he would not be able to make up for his mistake. Xiao Yan did not immediately answer. Instead, he first glanced at everyone in the hall. Most of these people were elders and outstanding juniors of the Lu family. They had all heard about the upcoming war between the two families, and it was all because of this outsider called Xiao Yan. They could roughly guess the reason why the patriarch used the entire family to protect Xiao Yan. Thus, there was a trace of expectation on their faces. Xiao Yan swept his gaze over them once, then faced Lu Wabai and replied with a smile. I'm just a rogue cultivator. I only have my current strength because I encountered some opportunities. I don't have an exact place to stay. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone in the hall immediately became restless. The reason why they were able to quietly wait here was because Xiao Yan had an affirmation of the power behind him. However, looking at it now, this brat simply had nothing. He had always been putting on an act. Even Lu Huabai, the patriarch's face slightly changed when he heard this, but in the next moment, he stabilized again. This was because he saw the faint confident smile on the corner of Xiao Yan's mouth. This kind of calm and confident smile in the face of danger was not the first time he had seen it. Moreover, Lu Huabai felt that there seemed to be some meaning in this smile that he could not see clearly. That was the real reason why he dared to use his family as a bet. Previously, when he was facing the Wu family head and Lu Huabai at the inn, he had this kind of smile. However, at this moment, he was still so calm and collected. This was definitely not putting on an act. This child was definitely not an ordinary person. Thinking up to here, Lu Huabai's heart calmed down. His wide palm fiercely slammed on the table made of good cedar wood. Wood shavings flew in all directions, and a loud sound spread throughout the hall. The noisy hall instantly became silent. Everyone glared at Xiao Yan, but they did not dare to make a sound. Lu Huabai looked at the silent crowd, and an imposing aura that came from a superior suddenly rose, causing the minds of everyone below to shake. Their gazes could not help but gather towards Lu Huabai. Lu Huabai looked at the crowd that was looking at him, then deeply looked at Xiao Yan who was sitting below, and finally opened his mouth to speak. Although fellow Xiao Yan is alone, he has done me a great favor. Right now, the Wu family wholeheartedly wants to annex my Lu family, and fellow Xiao Yan is also an enemy of the Wu family. How can my Lu family sit by and do nothing? Moreover, even if the Wu family really does not touch my Lu family within 5 years, can my Lu family really raise its strength to the point where it can contend against the Wu family within 5 years? Therefore, I have decided to join hands with fellow Xiao Yan to fight against the Wu family. If we win, my Lu family will exist in this Azure Sun City forever. If we lose, I will also make the Wu family suffer great losses and be unable to establish itself in this Azure Sun City. I wonder if the men of my Lu family dare to fight against the Wu family with me, destroy the Wu family, and restore the glory of my Lu family. The more Lu Huabai spoke, the more excited he became. He even began to roar. Once his impassioned words left his mouth, everyone in the hall shouted in unison, "Senior brother Lu Huabai. Fight! Fight! Fight!" This also caused Xiao Yan to quietly sigh and nod his head. When Lu Huabai saw Xiao Yan repeatedly nod his head, Lu Huabai's eyes hardened slightly. This kind of attitude of looking at things was like the feeling of an old senior praising a junior. This caused Lu Huabai's heart to involuntarily be shocked. Could it be that this Xiao Yan was an old monster who had lived for hundreds of years? In this world, there were always some old seniors who liked to use some secret techniques to return to their youthful appearance. This way, they would pretend to be a pig to eat a tiger in a crowd, causing everyone to be angry and helpless. Now that Lu Huabai suddenly thought of this, and combined all the previous actions of Xiao Yan, Lu Huabai's heart became even more excited. If Xiao Yan was really a senior who pretended to be a pig to eat a tiger, then the matter of him using the strength of his family to protect Xiao Yan would definitely cause him to have a good impression of his Lu family. At that time, it would be the time for his Lu family to rise. Bang! Suddenly, the sound of a door being broken rang out. 5 white-robed and white-haired old men walked into the main hall. Immediately, everyone in the main hall made way for them. The 5 of them walked up to Lu Huabai. A faint light shot out from the eyes of the leading old man as he looked at Lu Huabai and said, "Family head, I don't think so. Family head, I don't think that's possible. As long as the Wu clan allows our Lu clan to recuperate for 5 years, family head's strength may not necessarily be unable to increase. Furthermore, family head has already recovered. 5 years later, our Lu clan will definitely be able to stand tall in Xingyang City. However, family head wants to gamble with the clan for a completely unknown junior. Family head, you're really gambling." The expressions of everyone in the main hall changed when they heard this. Their eyes carried a dense suspicion as they looked at Lu Huabai. The old man also narrowed his eyes. His gaze was sharp as he looked at Lu Huabai. However, Lu Huabai ignored them when he heard this. Instead, he looked at Xiao Yan, who had been seated with a calm face. Xiao Yan smiled when he saw Lu Huabai looking at him. He stood up and looked at the 5 old men. He faintly said, "Family head Lu, these 5 people are the elders of your Lu family, right?" Lu Huabai frowned slightly when he heard this. However, he still nodded and acknowledged it. He opened his mouth and spoke to Xiao Yan. "The one in the middle is the first elder of my Lu family. His strength has reached the peak of a 7-star dozong. He is the strongest person in my Lu family other than me. The other 4 are also elders of my Lu family. Their strengths are not ordinary and they are all elite dozongs. They are the cornerstones of my Lu family. Unfortunately, Lu Wabai originally became increasingly excited the more he spoke. However, he still carried some desolation as he lowered his voice in the end. Xiao Yan was unconcerned when he heard this. He looked at the 5 elders. One of them coldly snorted when he saw Xiao Yan's gaze. He opened his mouth and mocked. Where did this ignorant junior come from? The old me advises you to leave my Lu family as soon as possible. Do not create any more trouble for my Lu family. Otherwise, the old me will immediately kill you on the spot. Humph. When he finished speaking, this elder's eyes were filled with dissatisfaction as he looked at Lu Wabai, who was seated in the leader's seat. Xiao Yan saw all of this in his eyes. The corner of his mouth was lifted into an icy arc. Suddenly, Xiao Yan mocked Lu Wabai. Family head Lu, these few elders of your Lu family seem to be very dissatisfied with you. In that case, I will help you discipline them. Xiao Yan's words were said in an incomparably calm manner. However, Lu Huabai's ears were like thunder from the 9 heavens. His heart was incomparably shocked. Just as he was about to act, he saw the few elders roaring with laughter. His expression changed slightly and Lu Wabai could not help but curse quietly in his heart. These few old fellows who will not die. They are already like this and they still can't see clearly. If this Xiao Yan was really an ordinary person, would I still be so friendly with him? What a group of stupid pigs. Bang. Lu Wabai's words had just sounded when the laughter of the 5 elders suddenly disappeared. Replacing it was a loud bang that resounded throughout the large hall. Everyone's faces were filled with shock as they looked at Xiao Yan. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. Just a moment ago, Xiao Yan had merely waved his sleeves and the 5 top experts in Qingyang City were sent flying. They violently collided with the pillars in the large hall. This sudden scene immediately caused everyone in the Lu family to come to a realization. This young man, who appeared to be similar in age to them, was actually an extremely strong person. His strength was at least above that of a Dozun. Lu Wabai, on the other hand, was both shocked and helpless as he looked at Xiao Yan. He had already expected that Xiao Yan was not an ordinary person. However, he did not expect Xiao Yan to be this strong. Fortunately, he did not provoke him like these few old fellows. Otherwise, it was likely that the Lu family would be destroyed today. Xiao Yan's eyes were indifferent as he looked at the 5 elders of the Lu family. He let out a cold snort. A thought passed through his heart and he bound the 5 elders of the Lu family in the air. His hand was extended and a claw was about to grab them. Elder, please wait. Lu Wabai's heart tightened when he saw that Xiao Yan was about to kill the 5 elders of his family. He hurriedly cried out to Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan frowned slightly when he heard this. After which, he let out a cold snort. The 5 elders of the Lu family were thrown out of the large hall by Xiao Yan like broken sacks. Lu Wabai also sighed in relief. He stood up, looked at Xiao Yan, bowed and said, Elder, thank you for your kindness of not killing them. Junior will definitely punish them according to the family rules. When Lu Wabai spoke, there was not the slightest trace of sloppiness. Moreover, he called for people to carry the 5 elders into the family's prison to await Lu Wabai's punishment. When Lu Wabai sent people to carry the 5 elders away, he especially angrily told the servants to move faster. He said that he did not want them to be stained by Elder Xiao Yan's eyes. However, when everyone heard this, they all curled their lips and did not say anything. This also caused Lu Wabai, the family head of the Lu family, to slightly blush. However, for the safety of the 5 elders, Lu Wabai endured it with a red face. I wonder if Elder is satisfied with Junior's actions? If you are dissatisfied, Junior will immediately call the servants to carry them back and let Elder punish them as you wish. When Lu Wabai saw that Xiao Yan still had an expressionless face, he bowed to Xiao Yan and asked. It's fine. I only hope that family head Lu can properly manage the family in the future and not cause trouble for your family. I hope that today's matter will not happen again in the future. Otherwise, I believe that family head Lu knows the consequences in his heart. At that time, it may not be like today. Xiao Yan's words were very flat, but Lu Wabai's heart could not help but tremble. Xiao Yan was right. Being able to let the 5 elders of the Lu family go like this already showed that Xiao Yan was magnanimous enough. If it was someone else, perhaps the entire Lu family would already be finished. When Lu Wabai thought of this, he cursed angrily in his heart. In the end, he still sighed slightly and muttered. Looks like it's time to tidy up the family. Although his voice was not loud, who wasn't a person with strength here? This little bit of sound was already enough for them. After hearing these words, everyone in the hall started to stir. A family storm was already unavoidable. Xiao Yan did not pay attention to the changes on everyone's faces. He turned around and walked towards the outside of the hall. Seeing this, Lu Wabai also hurriedly followed to Xiao Yan's side, wanting to lead the way. However, Xiao Yan did not seem to have any intention of letting Lu Wabai lead the way. He minded his own business and walked forward, as if he was strolling in the Lu mansion. However, Lu Wabai's heart could not help but tremble slightly. The direction that Xiao Yan was walking in was his bedroom. Could it be that Xiao Yan? This caused Lu Wabai to be somewhat angry. Even if you are a senior, an expert, and do not put my small family in your eyes, but I am still the head of a family. You actually did such an action. Even Lu Wabai could not bear to continue watching at this moment. If it was not for the fact that he still did not know Xiao Yan's ultimate goal, Lu Wabai would have already fought with his life on the line with Xiao Yan. Bang! Xiao Yan waved his sleeve, and the tightly shut door of Lu Wabai's room was blasted open by an invisible force, revealing a few pieces of furniture and a bed. Xiao Yan took the lead to enter, and Lu Wabai followed closely with a gloomy face. The moment Lu Wabai entered, the wooden door, which was also made of fine Nanmu wood, closed with a loud bang, bang, locking the two of them inside. Lu Wabai's face slightly changed as he looked at Xiao Yan. However, Xiao Yan sat at the side of the tea table and did not even look at Lu Wabai. He filled the jade teacup on the table with tea and took a small sip. Only then did he open his mouth to speak to the gloomy Lu Wabai. Just now, I saw that your aura was unstable and your blood was unstable. There are hidden injuries in your body, and Lu Xiang has already found the medicinal ingredients for you. I presume that the alchemist in your family is not skilled enough and is unable to help you completely eliminate the sequelae in your body, right? Hearing this, Lu Wabai was startled at first. Then, he looked at Xiao Yan with a sigh and nodded in agreement. Xiao Yan nodded slightly, then said, "For Lu Xiang's sake, go over, sit on the bed, and take off your clothes. I'll directly help you eliminate the hidden dangers in your body." Hearing this, Lu Wabai hurriedly did as he was told. Xiao Yan smiled slightly, then walked over to help him treat his injuries. Chapter 25. Xiao Yan's spiritual strength surged out from between his brows and entered Lu Wabai's body to investigate. In merely a moment, Xiao Yan had already clearly understood the condition of the sequelae in Lu Wabai's body. The sequelae in Lu Wabai's body had existed for over 10 years. After years of accumulation, it was no longer something that a clan like Lu Wabai could easily remove. If it was 3 years ago, with the wealth of the Lu clan, the sequelae in Lu Wabai's body would have been completely healed if they were willing to spend a large amount of money. Unfortunately, the internal discord within the Lu clan caused the sequelae in Lu Wabai's body to be difficult to remove. Moreover, it had quietly become increasingly intense. If Xiao Yan had not coincidentally arrived, it was likely that Lu Wabai's internal injuries would flare up and cause him to die in less than 2 years. Xiao Yan explained to Lu Wabai while sensing the hidden injuries in Lu Wabai's body. A moment later, however, Xiao Yan smiled slightly. After which, he extended his hand and took out a medicinal pill from empty space for Lu Wabai to consume. Lu Wabai completely did not notice the tear of the medicinal pill. His face was dull as he looked at Xiao Yan's hand that randomly tore through empty space. Only when an incomparably enormous medicinal strength was suddenly transmitted from his body did Lu Wabai suddenly wake up. He hurriedly raised the dou qi in his body and began to refine it. Xiao Yan's expression did not change. He still had an indifferent manner as he sat by the side of the tea table and drank his tea. However, the slight frown between his brows revealed the thread of impatience in Xiao Yan's heart. However, he did not say anything and continued to quietly wait. Night, Qingyang City, Wu Clan Mansion. Bang! The head of the Wu clan, Wu Bai, violently slammed his large hand on the table, causing the entire table, which was made of cedar wood, to be forcefully smashed into pieces. Both of Wu Bai's eyes were filled with an endless killing intent. Waves of aura that belonged to an expert at the peak of the Dozong class surged out from his body, causing everyone in the clan's discussion hall to emit a muffled snort from their mouths and noses. One after another, they withdrew from the large hall, leaving only Wu Bai alone in the large hall as he roared furiously. Humph! What a Lu clan! What a Lu Wabai! You actually dare to clash with the old me head on. Good. Since you, Lu Wabai, feel that the Lu clan has existed for a long time, the old me will help you stop here. Humph. Men. Wu Bai's face was filled with ferocity as he roared toward the outside of the hall. In the next moment, a family guard immediately ran in. Wu Bai opened his mouth and roared again. Let's go and see if the Grand Elder has come out of his seclusion. He said that he would come out today. As long as he comes out, it will be the day the Lu clan will be exterminated. Hee, there's no need for Patriarch to worry. This old man has already come out. I just don't know when Patriarch plans to exterminate the Lu clan. As soon as Wu Bai finished speaking, an old man in hemp clothes appeared at the entrance of the hall. The old man in hemp clothes naturally already knew about what happened during the day. However, he was still quite familiar with the character of his clan leader. Since Wu Bai said that he would take action the next day, he would definitely not let the other party live until the next morning. That was why he asked this question at this moment. Hearing this, Wu Bai smiled as he looked at the hemp-robed old man who was slowly walking into the hall. He then said, since the Grand Elder has come out of his seclusion, now is the best time to exterminate the Lu clan. Hearing this, the hemp-robed old man revealed a sinister smile. The two of them did not discuss further and walked out of the hall. Amidst a flurry of footsteps, all the elite disciples of the Wu clan had gathered. They were only waiting for Wu Bai's order to kill the Lu clan. Naturally, the Wu clan's big movements could not escape the Lu clan's investigation. Furthermore, the Wu clan's victory was already in their hands, so there was no need for them to be sneaky. They all walked with large strides, their voices shaking the heavens. The entire Qingyang city became slightly noisy. Everyone was debating the final outcome of the battle between the Wu clan and the Lu clan. Some people hoped that the Lu clan would be able to obtain the final victory. This was because the Lu clan's way of doing things was truly acknowledged by the people of Qingyang city. However, there were even more people who could only sigh. Although the Lu clan was good, the clan's fate was already exhausted. The destruction of the clan was already inevitable. Even if the Lu clan could escape, they could only live a life of homeless dogs forever. How could they rise again? Lu clan. What was different was that the current Lu clan was calm and peaceful. Everyone did not feel the slightest bit of nervousness towards the upcoming big battle. It was as though all of this had nothing to do with them as they each did their own thing. They naturally knew that the Wu clan was about to attack the Lu clan. However, the clan had Xiao Yan, a senior whose strength was exceedingly high. Even if the Wu clan sent out all their forces, what could they do? They would still return in defeat. It was even possible that all of them would die in the Lu clan. However, although they thought like that, Lu Wabai did not think like that. Lu Wabai looked at the lazy members of the Lu clan and a hint of worry appeared on his face. How could the rise and fall of the Lu clan be completely entrusted to a senior that he had just met for less than a day? Moreover, the reason why Xiao Yan was able to stay in the Lu clan was all because of the trace of good impression that Xiao Yan had towards Lu Xiang. How the Lu clan ended up was none of his business. Therefore, in order to motivate the members of the Lu clan, Lu Wabai had no choice but to fabricate the story that Xiao Yan would not care about the matters of the Lu clan. When everyone heard that, their hearts were shocked and some of them became restless. However, at this moment, the sounds of war resounded outside the Lu clan. The members of the Lu clan woke up at this moment, but it was already too late. The big battle had already arrived. Lu Wabai frowned as he looked outside the Lu estate. There were two auras that made him feel extremely fearful. Compared to Xiao Yan's aura that was so calm that it was hard to detect, these two auras caused his entire body to be filled with an ice-cold chill. When the people of the Lu family also felt the two powerful auras, they were so frightened that their faces became deathly pale. Their faces became ashen, and even the minimum fighting spirit of a cultivator disappeared without a trace. In front of absolute power, they ultimately chose to retreat. That kind of power was not something they could contend against. That kind of power was really too strong. Even if the Patriarch, First Elder, and the other 5 people worked together, they would definitely not be a match for it. Unless Xiao Yan made a move. However, right now, Xiao Yan had already clearly told them that he would not make a move. So, there was no need to fight this battle anymore. Seeing that the faces of the people of the Lu family were ashen, Lu Wabai's thoughts quickly spun. Finally, he thought of a way. He shouted to the people of the Lu family, could it be that all of you are so willing to admit defeat? Your defeat will only cause the little bit of goodwill that Senior Xiao Yan has for our Lu family to completely disappear. If you don't have the courage to fight, how can you exchange it for Senior Xiao Yan's favor and help? How can a family without strength and courage obtain the support of Senior? Come. Bring out your courage and let Senior Xiao Yan see our value. Fight. Use our blood to exchange for the glory of our Lu family for eternity. Everyone, rise. Charge. Kill those bastards of the Wu family. The more Lu Wabai spoke, the more agitated he became. In the end, he even seemed to be roaring at the crowd. Many of the cultivators of the Lu family were also affected. They all raised their hands and shouted in unison. Fight. Defeat those bastards of the Wu family. Let them see that our Lu family does not produce cowards. Kill them all. Fight. Fight. For the glory of our family. Fight. In an instant, everyone in the Lu family became excited by the illusory glory of the future. They began to circulate the dou qi within their bodies. Numerous bright lights accompanied by colorful dou qi soared to the sky. The moment their auras rose, everyone in the Lu family mansion, regardless of whether they were male or female, old or young, had dou qi wildly surging out of their bodies, forming numerous colorful light curtains that covered the entire Lu family. Even the 5 elders who were resting after being injured by Xiao Yan earlier began to emit an aura that belonged to an elite dozong. They forcefully supported their bodies and walked toward the main door of the Lu family mansion. Xiao Yan, who was in the guest room, also lifted the corner of his mouth at this moment. He muttered to himself. This Lu family is not that bad. Perhaps it is really worthy of my help. At this moment, outside the Lu family's residence, a large group of cultivators wearing black robes with black cloth covering their faces had surrounded the entire Lu family's residence so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. Everyone's faces were filled with nervousness and excitement as they looked at the Lu family's entrance. They had already heard from the waves of roars that came from within the Lu family's residence that the Lu family was really going to fight with the entire family this time. As the saying goes, when 2 tigers fight, one is bound to be injured. Currently, although the Wu family seemed to have a complete advantage, since the Lu family dared to make such a ruckus a few minutes before the big battle, it meant that they had something they did not know about. Since this was the case, they needed to be extremely careful. However, this was only for the ordinary people of the Wu family. For the hemp-clothed old man, as long as the opponent was not someone of the same level as him, he had full confidence that he could take down the Lu family. Therefore, he scoffed at the Lu family's reaction and ignored it. Following the creaking sound of the door opening, the main door of the Lu family's residence slowly opened. Hundreds of figures filed out from the door. All of them held weapons and looked at the people from the Wu family covetously. Lu Wabai scanned the people that the Wu family had brought with them from afar. The total number of people that the Wu family had brought with them was probably much more than the Lu family's. This caused Lu Wabai's heart to sink slightly. With this additional number of people, in addition to the 2 auras that made him feel extremely fearful, it was likely that the Lu family would not be able to survive today without Xiao Yan's help. As for whether Xiao Yan would actually help, it was still unknown. Lu Wabai could not help but sigh in his heart. Just as Lu Wabai was about to step out of the door, an arm was suddenly placed on his left shoulder. When he turned his head to take a look, he saw that it was the first elder who had come to fight despite his injuries. Looking at his pale face, it was likely that he would not be able to fight. Just as Lu Wabai was about to persuade him to return, the first elder suddenly said, "Family head, there is no need. No matter what, this old man is still a member of the Lu clan. Even if I am injured, I must fight for the clan." After today's matter, this old man has understood that what that elder said is right. This old man has too much authority. How can a clan be arrogant? Those ancient aristocratic families use humility as the foundation for the continuation of the clan. My Lu clan is just a small border clan. What qualifications does it have to be arrogant? If my Lu clan can survive today, this old man will no longer meddle in the affairs of other clans. Everything will be up to the clan head. The first elder's words were incomparably sincere, causing Lu Wabai to be unable to bear to refute. Additionally, the first elder was currently seriously injured. Hence, Lu Wabai could only nod his head and agree. After which, the 2 of them looked at the head of the Wu clan, Wu Bai, and the linen-clothed old man. The first elder's eyes had just met the eyes of the linen-clothed old man when his eyes suddenly shrunk. His mouth was widened and a shocked expression surfaced on his face. It was a long while later before he spat out a couple of words. You are not dead." A cruel smile surfaced on the linen-clothed old man's face. He smiled and opened his mouth to speak to the first elder of the Lu clan. "How is it? Are you very excited to see the old man?" "That's right. The old man is not dead. Not only am I not dead, the old man has also obtained the strength of a dozun. How is it? Are you happy to hear this good news?" Ha ha ha. The hearts of the first elder and everyone from the Lu clan shook when they heard this. Their eyes suddenly shrunk and their faces were shocked as they looked at the linen-clothed old man. The class of dozun. That was an ultimate existence that would not appear in this Qingyang city for 100 years. Once a dozun appeared, what could their Lu clan be considered? You have become an elite dozun? Then why are you still in this Qingyang city? Shouldn't you have been brought away by the people above? The first elder's body shook when he heard this. After which, he asked the linen-clothed old man in disbelief.